Hi, everyone. So today I'm talking about a recent healing circle session that I ran. And what came up in that session was an aspect of consciousness. Now, aspect of consciousness are, if you think of your subconscious mind as being a huge, vast cavern of space, and aspects of consciousness are, if you like, rooms in that space or aspects of ourselves, sort of personalities of ourselves that we have created as a result of trauma, childhood trauma or trauma in our lives or life shock events where we've created these almost like personalities or these separate beings of ourselves. And they all make up us, but it's different aspects of ourselves, which is why they're called aspects of consciousness. So they're permanent ones and they're impermanent ones. The permanent ones are the ones that come with us when we come to earth, and the impermanent ones are the ones that we create, and that we don't really want. Now, the thing about aspects of consciousness is we want them all to be at a 10 out of 10 happiness. Now, what came up in this session, in this healing circle session, was the aspect of consciousness, an impermanent aspect of consciousness of temper tantrum child. And this temper tantrum child was happy at 10 out of 10. Sorry, happy at 8 out of 10. In other words, it needed to be happy at 10 out of 10 so that we could release it. The reason that temper tantrum child was unhappy was because he or she had limiting beliefs saying, I don't exist, I am bad, I am guilty, I am unattractive, I'm flawed, and I am stupid. Right, so these were supported by trapped emotions, which we released. They were also, these limiting beliefs were also supported by or fed by or upheld by, if you like, resistance anchor rooted in shame, saying, I'm not good enough, as well as archetypes. Now, archetypes are kind of ways of being, if you like. The archetypes of frightened, abundance, deficiency, and inferiority. So let's just examine those a little bit. So we have the resistance anchor rooted in shame, okay, which is supported by the archetypes of frightened, abundance, deficiency, and inferiority. So with the abundance deficiency, I think this was about an abundance of self, an abundance of a deficiency in ourselves, of an abundance mentality of us being good enough. Like, I am abundant in my enoughness. I'm abundant in my being okayness. And there wasn't this abundance. There was a deficiency of this abundance. Also, feelings of inferiority, an archetype, a way of being of inferiority, and an archetype of frightened. Okay, feeding into the resistance anchor of shame, which says, I'm not good enough. And the resistance anchor of shame was feeding through trapped emotions and creating the limiting beliefs, which said, I don't exist, I am bad, I am guilty, I am unattractive, I'm flawed, and I am stupid. No wonder we were having temper tantrums when we were little. So the trapped emotions also that were supporting all of this were trapped emotions of disgust, of bitterness, of discouragement, taken for granted, nervousness, sadness, self-abuse, worry, betrayal. Now, I think we had trapped emotions of disgust because we were feeling, probably on some level, having the temper tantrum and feeling disgusted ourselves and disgusted our own behavior, disgust at not being able to control our emotions better. Bitterness, perhaps there was some bitterness in our life experience or the trauma that we were embodying, that was making us feel bitter, and therefore we were having the tantrums. Discouragement, taken for granted, nervousness, sadness, self-abuse. Oh, I'm just not good enough. All these messages we have of, I'm flawed, I'm stupid, I'm bad, I'm guilty, I'm unattractive. Betrayal. Now, I think betrayal, maybe someone betrayed us, right at the very root of this. This is like the bottom thing. This is like the bottom layer. So we have all these layers culminating in child behaving badly in tantrum child. And this heart wall of betrayal right at the bottom is the first thing we put down. So I think, and look, I speak from my own experience. I was in the group when I ran the session. I speak from my own experience. My heart wall of betrayal, I think, relates to my story of adoption, relates to the fact that my mother didn't want me. I know that is super simplistic. I know that on so many levels, there's so much else going on here in terms of why she didn't want me and why she couldn't keep me. But the child doesn't understand that. The child is feeling betrayed. And I think that is my truth of why betrayal was sitting in there. For the other people in the group, I don't know what their truth of is why betrayal was there, but all of us had feelings of betrayal. So we released all of those, and then the temper tantrum child was happy at a 10 out of 10. She'd moved, or he'd moved from being happy 8 out of 10, in other words, not really happy, to being happy at 10 out of 10. And I tested, is this a strong happy? Are you really happy? And the answer was yes. So then we released this and we dissolved this because there was no consciousness left, because all the things that had created the consciousness of this aspect of ourselves had now been released. So there was no consciousness left. So therefore, the temper tantrum child just dissolved. There was no temper tantrum child aspect of ourselves still living in our subconscious mind. So then I did some other things. And then what I do is I always install a high vibration, 1 or 2 high vibrational frequencies. So we take the low vibrations out and we add high vibrations, because obviously we want to be running at a higher vibrational frequency. And what really interested me was that this one came up. An installation of green frequency was what was asked for in this session. Now I used Ina Seagal's books, her cards about color cards, and I am guided to the card that my group wants. Sometimes there's other things I install, but this particular thing was a color today, or on that event. And the green frequency, I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then I was just reading what it is. It's to revitalize your nervous system, your heart, your circulatory system, your liver, to lower blood pressure and to release frustration and anger. And I was fascinated. Once again, this work blows me away. Out of a deck of about 50 cards, I was directed to take this card. And this card was the vibration I was asked to install, having released from the group the temper tantrum child, anger and frustration. And now we are being asked to install a frequency of green to soothe and to help release that. So I installed green to all levels and layers of the being in the group. And essentially that was, I just thought it was really interesting. I love this work. I always find it fascinating. I'm always surprised by what comes up. I never expect the stuff to come up that comes up. And I'm always so excited when it comes up, because it fills me up to be able to do this work. So that's I do a sort of a debrief like this in the group, in the Facebook group every week. And this was pretty much what I talked about in that particular week, talking about the healing circle session of the day before. So I just thought I'd share that, because I'm just loving working with aspects of consciousness right now. It seems to be something I'm working a lot with, and I adore this work. It makes me feel very fulfilled. And there's many aspects of consciousness. Some of them are inner child and some of them are not inner child. But it's wonderful to work with this, because I kind of feel like it's really a great way to focus on releasing something quite specific, which is impacting us negatively or preventing us from achieving the specific things we want to achieve with, that we're working with in the healing circle. And of course, it comes up in one-to-one sessions as well, not just limited to healing circle work. So I just thought I'd share that with you quickly, because it was just such a joy for me to do, and I enjoyed it so much. And I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you found it interesting. Lots of love.